the idea that X is formally allowing like more content on the platform. BX, we're gonna toss this softball up and let you hit a grand slam here with this, because I think this is important to talk about, because one of the big selling points since Elon Musk has come on is he said, now you're able to monetize your content for the first time on X. You're no longer just posting into the wild. You're going to get paid for your content. People are like, yeah. Then we saw this, content farming where people were like, what would you do in this situation? And people like boost all these things. And the idea is that you had to get 10 million impressions of your content in a month to be able to monetize your content, which, by the way, is stupid. It's just a stupid amount. 10 million impressions.
I mean, it's basically just one viral post, and then you don't have to meet the requirement every month. So a lot of people ended up getting it incidentally.
Right.
So you pop off and you're ready to go. But there is a new, brand new, I guess, rule that's being put in place over on X coming July 1st at the end of this month. And BX, I'm going to let you kind of talk about this here.
Yeah, so I like the way you opened by saying, "Oh, they lured you in with promises of money." They gave you that nice little taste of the carrot there right before rolling out. Oh, by the way, if you like getting paid and you want to keep getting paid, then this is what you're going to be, faced with. You're going to be faced not only with ID verification, but with biometric verification. That biometric verification, as it turns out, is owned by a very sketchy company called Authentics, which is actually owned by Israeli intelligence, people who were former Israeli intelligence.
Wow.
It's an Israeli company that's like, I mean, and this isn't what you think it is. I mean, this is worse than you think it is, right? Israeli intelligence has just this nasty reputation for surveillance and information gathering, and they're like notorious for it. So it's not a trustworthy company to give your biometric data to. Don't do it. Do not. I have issues already with ID verification requirements. And I think we might have talked about this a little bit last time. We were touching on like the Twitch child safety stuff, right? Child safety, child online safety bills sound really good in virtue and in theory, but in reality, they sneak things in there that really do threaten privacy. And then they disguise it as, well, don't you care about children, right? Like the flag. The ID verification requirements are already kind of concerning, especially in the sense that they're being rolled out countrywide with like the Real ID program, which has been hotly debated. So this identity verification step is already kind of concerning. And then you add the biometric data that's going to the Israeli company to protect your safety and security, obviously, right? Because we all know there's definitely no dangers with exchanging your freedom for safety.
Right.
And so, I want to point this out here. If you could scroll down a little bit, because after I posted this, I found out that not everybody got these same terms, which is kind of crazy. So my terms say something slightly different. My terms say, I agree to X and Authentics using images of my ID and my selfie, including extracted biometric data to confirm my identity and for related safety, security, fraud prevention, and payment purposes, which is like superfluous. That's not just identity verification. We don't know what that is.
Right.
And then it says Authentics may store such data for up to 30 days. X may store your full name, address, and hashes of my document ID number for as long as I participate in the creator subscription or ad revenue share program. So I quote tweeted Elon Musk, Elon Musk was talking about, why would we have your address? Sir, it's right there. It literally says it. And apparently not everybody had this statement. I don't know why they decided that my full name and address would be stored, but personally, I do my best to not give anyone access to that information, X or any social media platform included. So I think I sent you a tweet earlier today, which is, I was like thinking back on this, and this is actually pretty crazy. But back in 2020, Parler, if you remember the Parler platform, I hesitantly decided to join Parler. And I kind of had a tiff between me and one of the staff members at Parler because they wanted ID verification for like DMs, like standard features. And I said, no, why would you need my ID photograph? That doesn't seem safe at all. She went back and forth with me about how safe it was and how they only store it for 30 days, etc. And I tweeted this right here on November 20th, 2020, that predicted that Parler would have a massive data breach. Well, 2 months later, right after the Capitol riot, there were some hacktivists that took all of the data from Parler and assembled it into a list of right-wing accounts that they suspected of being at the Capitol on January 6th. And that data breach included the photocopies of the IDs that people had given to Parler. So it was mind-blowing to me that this actually happened, and it was easily foreseen. You could predict this. And so now, to see X doing the same thing, it's like we've already seen this, like literally repeating itself right in front of us. So yes, bad actors. And I know a lot of people were pushing back at me. I jumped in a space the other day that I saw some people in. There were like a bunch of like big, there's like all these big creator accounts, but you don't know who they are. You've never seen them before, but they have like 800,000 followers. And like Elon Musk, we love X in their profile and stuff. Well, I hopped in there and I started asking these questions, and they're like, well, it's probably for tax purposes. It's probably for this. I'm sure it's fine. And I'm like, no, it's not. And here are the reasons why it's not fine. Like, this is not okay. And they kept kind of just trying to dissuade me from being concerned about it. Anyways, I think it's very interesting, first of all, that they're requiring, your address for no reason. And I was going to say, like, a lot of people on that space had this attitude that I see a lot, which is like, well, the government can find you anyways if they really want to. So just give them all your data. Like, first of all, just because they can doesn't mean they should, or that you should make it easy, right? And the second thing is that we're not just worried about the government. This isn't necessarily just a big conspiracy thing. This is just basic cybersecurity, privacy concern. You don't want your data to be stolen by bad actors, hackers, cyber criminals. All it takes is one exploit to lose all of your data and have it published on some right-wing, what do they call it? Right-wing watch kind of account.
Right.
Mislabeled you as a terrorist, and now you're getting doxxed.
Yeah.
So yeah, really scary stuff.
Facebook normalized all this stuff with the, to get into your account, you've got to upload a copy of your ID and all that, like, ridiculousness. Like, one time I got locked out of my account because I hadn't sent them a photo scan of my ID. It was funny because it was right after I had reported a post that was like basically calling for communist revolt and an assassination from someone. And then, all of a sudden I need an ID to get into my account. It's like, that's curious. So here's what I did. I photoshopped a fake ID. And what'll happen is if you upload that, you can get into your account long enough to shut it down. So that's exactly what I did on Facebook.
That I posted like a little clip of like Mission Impossible 3 or whatever, where they're doing like they're like taking pictures of the guy trying to get his face. I'm like, this is literally the links we're trying to figure out how far do we have to go to fake this? Because the thing is, like, not only do you have to have the fake ID, but now you have to do the biometric, which is almost impossible to get around with AI. Although people are probably trying, and I'm listening. But at the same time, I'm not willing to give that information. And I think that it's very concerning that they're being sneaky about it, right? Like, they've got these terms that are very, straightforward with the concerning things in there. And yes, there we go. Yes, first we buy Twitter, say we're against free speech and say we're free speech and against censorship. So say all the extremist things you want, guys, everyone all at once. Yeah. And then, they're actually still shadow banning people, still implementing the tweet cred system, which is basically a social credit score. And now they're collecting biometric data for our safety. And, I'd say about biometric data too, you give your biometric data to lots of places. And I know people are going to be like, well, you're right here live. We can see your face. And that's true. But that's not the same thing necessarily as using it to encrypt your devices and accounts, right? The really big problem with biometric data is that even if it's stored locally for 30 days, that's not telling us that they're not also using that to train, facial recognition technology and things of that nature, which is definitely a big concern that's happened. And unfortunately, it's looking more and more like it's something that's going to happen whether we like it or not, because the technology exists and there's just no way to stop it. But we need these watchdogs. We need people who are saying, wait, stop and think before you give this company all of your personal data. I don't know if we ever really talked about all of the stuff that I've been in, but I mean, I've basically been at the front lines of exposing a terror organization. It's a pedophile network. I won't get into it too much, so I don't want to bum everybody out, right? But it's real, and it's also connected to this network of people who get paid to dox and SWAT people. So there's networks of cyber criminals that do this. They're little script kiddies. They're like kids, and they're getting arrested and going to jail for like 40 years. Like, it's kind of crazy to see, because they're hacking government databases and doing crazy shit. But there's a specific exploit that I wanted to make people aware of. It's called an EDR, an electronic data request. So basically, if law enforcement thinks you're about to go commit a terrorism, right? They can go to Twitter and say, we need this user's information and we don't have time to get a subpoena or a warrant because people are about to die. And Twitter has a habit of just giving them that information as long as they have an official government email. Well, what's happening is that these kids are figuring out how to spoof government emails and trick Twitter into thinking that they're law enforcement and socially engineering or pretexting their way into getting your information. So I have been threatened with this personally. I had these terrorists it's hard to call them terrorists because they're just little kids, right? But 18-year-old kids, but they can do a lot of damage, a lot of harm to you with that. So I started getting threats saying that I was going to get EDR'd, and I didn't know what that was. Well, I had to file a police report about it because these guys were no joke. Like, these guys are very serious. What
were they coming after you for? That's the one thing I don't understand. What were they? Why were they upset about you?
So it was when
let me break out the list, right?
Yeah.
It's because, and if you go to my pinned tweet, it's like the second tweet on that thread. It's the 764 network and the Kyle Spitz. You remember that video of the guy who got shot in the ear and you can see like down the barrel of the gun and like his stepdad shoots him and then you see like the blood drop on the floor. And it's like this, you would know the video if I showed it to you. You'd be like, oh yeah, that video, I saw it randomly because everyone was sharing it. Well, it turns out that the guy who got shot in the ear was part of this pedophile network. It's an child abuse and extortion network. And so I figured this all out, and I was the first person to report on it. And so, and he's been arrested now on federal charges. He's going away forever, but that kid's never getting out of jail. But at the time it was breaking and nobody really, a lot of people were calling me crazy conspiracy theorist, as tends to happen.
Right.
And I was like, no, this is objectively real. Right. Well, his terrorist friends who are also, child abuse, extortion freaks, they were threatening me because I was reporting the story, and they were scared because they didn't want their friend to get nabbed, because now they're all going down. And since then, at least 2 of those people who were threatening me are now in jail and gone.
Jeez.
So yeah, they were right to be afraid. But so those were the guys who were threatening me. It's all on my pinned tweet thread. But anyways, so when I called the police, they let me know, no, like, this EDR thing is real, and it's a serious concern that you could be swatted or whatever, doxed onto the dox bin or whatever. And so that's when I started to realize, like, wow, this is pretty sketchy. So any information that Twitter has on you is up for grabs, not only to these criminals, but to law enforcement. Yeah. So you got to really think about that.
Especially with how ideological law enforcement has become, never mind their unions, never mind the intelligence agencies that they now cooperate with. Like, that's a little alarming.
Yeah.
Man, this is such like, every time you're on, we go down this rabbit hole that I'm not like at all.
I'm normal. This is normal.
I have a fitted tinfoil hat. We're ready for
that.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's normal to be threatened by satanic pedophile networks that are actually real. Totally.
Well, kind of further on the X side of things, this was news that came down this morning, and kind of honestly disheartening, shocking, if you will. The idea that X is formally allowing like adult content on the platform.
Right.
X has updated its rules to officially permit consensually produced adult content, including AI-generated media, without or with proper labeling. This change aligns with Elon's previous experiments and could lead to new service similar to OnlyFans. Regulators are expected to scrutinize X's handling of non-consensual consult and child sex abuse material.
Just gets worse.
She's just said like pedophile like 15 times. I don't think you need to mutter it, Craig. I think you're demonetized.
Sorry, I know that it's hard on YouTube, but I hear people in chat were saying like, please. BX is going to get your stream cut off again.
Right. Right. Well, this is I'm more because my kids are.
Right. Good point. Good point. Yeah. I can only assume Elon just decided to steer into the porn bot skid here. I don't know what exactly is the thought process.
If you can't beat them,
Am I the only person that noticed that when he took over, that all became exponentially worse?
Yeah.
Don't you find that odd?
Oh,
that
man.
It suddenly became worse. And now the only way to get around it, guys, is to pay us and submit your ID verification.
Yeah.
This Hegelian situation going on.
I can post like a Bible verse and the first 10 replies are some porn bots genitals. Like what is going on here exactly? I don't understand. And people have tried to go down the rabbit hole. There's been some recent stories. I forget exactly where they traced it back to. It's some like fake like stream girl farm or something that's behind a lot of the porn bots. I forget who it was. TDS master of TDS or whatever. He did a whole expose into this.
Yep.
Sounds familiar.
He's been very good about the bot side of things. As Master Gawa says, they care about the children like Epstein and Maxwell, his Mossad lover handler did. My ex gets locked for liking patriotic posts and quote conspiracies. That's right.
My ex got locked for speaking out about the bots that were spamming CSAM, which is, PDF content. I'm trying to like be kosher for you, right? But once I started speaking out about it, I don't know how to say it earlier. Call it CSAM, right? Abuse material. Very serious problem where bots were spamming it 200 times per minute. That we found a bot farm that was doing this, and there were ads running. So X was technically counting this as site traffic and potentially even getting paid for it. And we tried to escalate this behind the scenes, and I even ended up talking to journalists and trying to give this to like other people with more cred than me, because I don't like to break stories. Like I'm a spaz, like I'm retarded. Okay, like I don't like, I'm not good at releasing information because I'm generally a very non-serious person who comes across it, and I want to give it to somebody who can do the story right. But my ex account ended up getting yeeted after I started speaking up about this. For 10 weeks, it was gone. And then it just came back one day, and I went into my data. You can check if you've gotten a ban or a TOS violation in your data. Nothing. No indication as to why they took out my account. And so, so that's already a problem. The child exploitation networks that I was talking about earlier are prolific on X, and there is some egregious content that they're not moderating properly. Then you add into the fact that they've got, a problem with porn and spamming porn already, right? To me, the obvious solution is just to remove porn from the platform completely. It would solve so many problems if they could just auto ban people who were posting porn. But of course they won't do that because number one, they make money from it. And number two, now they can use it to get your ID verification, right?
Yeah. And the porn is a pretext too. It links back to like trafficking stuff and whatever. Like they're not selling porn, gang. It's like selling sex on the internet's like trying to sell a space heater on the sun. They've got like it links back to weird e-girl like streamer farms and God knows what data collection like that. This is not just we're advertising porno. Like, trust me, porno on the internet doesn't need advertisement.
Yeah, I
Right.
always wondered that, like, who clicks on these? Like, oh, your sister thinks I'm sexy. I should click your link. Yeah. Like, how often does that act? Does it work enough for them to make it profitable? That's interesting. You said that it could just be like a guise for like data farming, because I don't know that enough people fall for those kind of scams to make it worthwhile.
Right, exactly. I mean, kids, unfortunately, school kids are ambling around with portable porn computers in their pockets. So, like, trust me, nobody's having difficulty finding porn in 2024. I
Portable
don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what.
If Ted Bundy was correct and early exposure to porn turns you into a serial killer, can you imagine, like, in the future, half the kids are going to be Hannibal Lecter?
Scary stuff.
There was porn when we were kids too, though.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And we're
But
not all serial killers.
You had to
but
search for
probably kinkier now. I don't know.
it. Hey, Candy Sanchez, because I made a new X account for my YouTube channel that I'm starting up this weekend. I was suspended within 10 minutes of creating the account with no explanation. Candy.
That's happened to me before too. It's just a glitch, and like you can appeal it probably. It's like they think that you're a computer or something usually when that happens.
That's crazy. Well, look, BX, we appreciate you really digging into this today. You are a jewel of information, and I love how you just don't stop. It's great. Good for you.
Yeah, I mean,
we need like her own theme music, like Twilight Zone theme or something.
Yeah.
what would that be? What
gotta
would
get
that
that going.
be?
Some
That would be the
investigative
Twilight
type
Zone.
music.
Right.
I got
I
it.
investigate
No,
the
no, no,
weirdest,
no.
cringest corners of the internet.
Robert Stack, Unsolved Mysteries theme. There we are.
Oh,
Right.
I was
that's a
thinking
good
more like
one.
Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
The BBC Sherlock Holmes theme.
That's like distinguished. I like that idea too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you can check out my pinned tweet thread. I've got like basically I went ahead and just put everything that I've investigated over the last year into a tweet thread so people can like see it in one place, because I got tired of having to search for it. But some interesting stuff in there, stuff that people no one else really reporting on. But that doesn't mean it's not important, you know. So go check it out, and I appreciate you guys letting me come on and conspiracize for you.
I feel like we need to have an entire like.
What is that, like the name of the Alex Jones workout tape? What is that?
I can
All
make
right,
a, I
everyone,
can make a
conspiracize.
I can make a like a compilation of me screaming
Yes.
like a Super Saiyan. Ah!
That's great stuff. Well, everyone can find you over. The link is in the description if you guys want to go follow BX over on X, and continue to. And I guess in your mind, you're kind of in the belly of the beast when you're kind of targeting this stuff while still being on the platform. You know, you still need to be on it.
There's anything darker or deeper than this where I'm at. It's actually pretty. It's crazy. It's intense. So if you're not into like intense stuff, then maybe wait for a time when you're like about to listen to a true crime podcast and you're like in that kind of mental state. Don't do it in the morning. It'll ruin your day.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for hopping in today. Really appreciate it. We'll let you roll, but thank you very much for your time, effort, and doing what you do. Everyone needs to go follow you over on X.
Yeah, BX_on_X.